Hey guys, welcome back to Toto Capital. My name's Liam, and in this video, I'm going to run through my weekly outlook on what I'm expecting and what I'm looking at trading on this upcoming financial week. Okay, so this will be starting tomorrow, which is the 27th of May. And this outlook, this macro outlook, will be valid until the Friday of that week, or really up until the Wednesday, where we may look at tweaking some things sort of midweek. But as of right now, this is what I'm going to be looking at trading this upcoming financial week. And we're going to cover, some FX pairs. We're going to cover gold. We're going to cover oil. We're going to cover the S&P. And yeah, let's just jump straight in, guys. So this is AUD USD, and I'm currently short on this market, and I'm going to break down exactly why. Okay, so let's zoom in. This is the weekly time frame, so very significant when it comes to identifying key levels. Okay, what you can see here is we have our most recent fractal high. You can mark that on the chart if you head over to indicators at the top. If you type in fractals, and it's this one here by Rachel_T. Add that to your chart. This is how you identify the key swing levels within the market. So you can identify your swing high, your most recent swing high, and you can identify your most recent swing low. Okay, so now that we've identified our most recent swing high and low, these are our key levels. These are our points of liquidity where, we're looking for price to manipulate these areas, and then we can look to act accordingly around these key levels. Okay, so I've dropped down to the daily here, and let's mark on our key zones here. Okay, so you can see this is your top zone here. This is the weekly fractal that we marked on, and then you've got your fractal low, which is down here. Okay, so these are the only areas at the moment, starting today, where we're looking at trading around. Okay, things may develop in the back end of the week, but at the moment, these are your key levels. So you've got 0.66400 area, and you've got down at the bottom 0.63. Let's just call it 0.64. Okay, that's your key psychological level. You've also got a mid-range coming in around here. Let's mark that on. So you've got a key mid-range here, which we actually took a trade on the way up. So on the way up, our trade looked something like this. We had an entry around this area here. Stop loss below the zone. We gave it a bit of room to breathe. Target was up to the highs. Okay? And the reason why was because we classified this as a deviation. We saw the reclaim here, and we were starting to hold above this level. So this is a deviation, reclaim, okay? And then you can look to target the range highs, okay? You've also got sort of a mid-range as well that you can look at targeting. So we played longs up to the range highs. Now we're looking at range shorts. And I'm currently short on this market, and I'll show you why. So we longed up, okay? But now it looks like we're going to be moving back to the downside. The reason why is because this is our swing high here. What we've seen, in my opinion, is a deviation, i.e. we've came above this key level, seen the deviation, and now we've reclaimed this key weekly swing level. So what we can classify this as is a weekly swing fail, okay? This is the swing. We failed to break above and hold above this level. Okay, we've broke back below, and now we're holding below 0.66400. Therefore, we can classify this as a deviation reclaim, and we can look to short off our key level. We've got a clear invalidation above the zone. If price continues to push back up to the upside, then, we're going to be invalidating. That'll be our invalidation, and we're not going to be looking to hold this short. Okay, so I'm actually triggered short right now. Target above the key level, stop loss above the key level, and then first target we're looking at mid-range, around a 1 to 2, that's healthy, and then ultimate targets are going to be about a 1 to 4 down at the range lows. So this is the sort of thesis that this is a deviation we've reclaimed, and now we're looking at T1, target 1, which is this area here. Break that, we're down to target 2, down at the lows on the daily. Okay, so T1 0.65, Target 2, 0.63. We call it 0.64 just to be sort of simple there. Okay, so that's my setup on AUD USD. That's exactly what we're looking at, and we're looking at further downside on this market. Clear and validation, very mechanical approach with that trade. Okay, it's simply just trading the range, guys. So this is your range high to range low. You've got your mid range around here. We're seeing this as a deviation. Therefore, this is the range high. We can short off the range high and then look to target mid range and then the lower part of the range. Okay, so don't overcomplicate what you're actually seeing. Just trade what you see, guys. Okay, that's GBP. Sorry, that's AUD USD. Now let's look at GBP USD, the pound against the dollar. Okay. Weekly time frame is looking similar in the fact that we've got our most recent fractal high here coming in at 1.27 key psychological level. We've got a mid-range coming in at 1.25 400, and then we've also got range lows at 1.23 key psychological level. What we're looking for now on the daily when we drop down, so we've got our swing levels, these are the key areas. What I want to see is very, very simple. If we can get a reclaim, i.e. a close below 1.26800, if we can close below there, you can look for retests off this key area. First target, you've got mid-range, and then ultimate target, you've got range lows. So with this being correlated to AUD USD, as you can tell, the setups do look quite similar. Okay, but we need to see confirmation. We need to see a close below 26800. Close below there, that opens up short opportunities down to 1.25 500 area, and then you've got range lows at 1.23. Okay, so very, very simple, because we would just classify this as a deviation. This essentially is your range that you're dealing in, range high, range low here. This is your mid-range here. Therefore, this is just a fake out essentially, and then you can look to target mid-range. So very, very simple. GBP USD looks very, very similar to AUD USD. One thing to note is sort of the Australian dollar's looking a bit weaker since that setup's already presented itself, which may be an indication that the pound is soon to follow. Okay, so GBP USD looking for shorts if we can break below here, and we can trade that back down to mid-range and then range lows. That's GBP USD. Now let's look at an actionable trade for you guys, okay? So this is USD card. We have a high probability setup here, okay? This is our most recent high on the daily here. This is our most recent fractal high here. Mark that on our chart. Coming in at 1.36900, okay? Range lows are coming in down here, 1.35900. That's range lows. Now let's drop down to the lower time frames and have a look at exactly, what we're seeing there. So we've got this key area here, and let's drop down. So let's drop down to the 4-hour time frame and have a look at what we've got. So essentially what we have is, this is a big deviation outside of this range here. So this is your range highs, this is your range low. You've sort of got a mid-range as well coming in here, okay? But what we have seen now is a deviation above this level, reclaim, i.e. we've closed back below this key level. Therefore, retest in this area, we can look for further downside on USD CAD. First targets, you've got mid-range coming in around this level here, 1.36350, and then ultimate targets are going to be down at the low down here. Okay, so in terms of a high probability setup, this is a clear deviation reclaim. You can look to short that back down to the middle of the range, then back down to lows. Okay, so that's an actionable setup on USD CAD, and that's based off a daily deviation reclaim. You can see that more clearly when you drop to the 4-hour time frame, because this is just the range that we're dealing in here. This range here. Let's mark that on. Okay, so we're literally just within this range. Okay, and we see this as a fake out reclaim, and then we can look to short that back down to the bottom of the range. Okay, yeah, I know that's a bit messy, guys, but that's definitely a actionable trade that we should be looking at taking. Okay, a trade here. Let's look at euro dollar. What we had, so This is our most recent fractal high here. Let's mark that on. Okay, we've seen the deviation. We've seen the deviation above this level, 1.08850. On the daily, this will be a lot clearer for you guys. You can see we came above this area, deviated, reclaimed, okay? And we closed back below on the daily, below this level. So we were shorting off this level here. So this was the idea that we traded. We were shorting off this level. Price went about a 1 to 1.6, and my positions have actually been stopped at break even. So some of you guys might have took some profit off the table. Well done if you have, but my positions were actually stopped out at break even. I was looking at targeting sort of mid-range around these levels around here, and then ultimately range lows. Okay, but my position has been stopped out at break even. This trade may play on. This trade may continue to the downside. However, as I said, I've got exposure to AUD USD, and with these pairs being correlated, there's no real reason to be over risking on multiple pairs. Okay, so I've still got exposure with downside on AUD USD. I was stopped out of break even on EU. Unfortunately, some of you guys still might be in this trade. Okay, and good luck if you are. Okay, so that is that one. Let's jump now to USD CHF just to have a look at what we're looking at here. So this is on the weekly perspective. You've got your most recent fractal high, which is here, most recent fractal lows all the way down here. So in terms of a trade that we may see this week, what it would be is if we can push up to the range highs up here, range highs 0.92, key psychological level. If we can push into range highs, deviate, reclaim back below this level, then we can look for shorting opportunities out of this area here. We have clear invalidation above the range high, and then we can look first target, you've got mid-range, second target, you've got down to range lows. So let's mark this on. I'll show you what that'll look like as an actionable trade. So it's going to look something like this here. So you need to see price push into the range highs, manipulate the retail out of the market. Once I see that, I want to see confirmation close back below, retest of our key area. Then we can look to short that one back down to mid-range. T2, you've got down to range lows. Okay, so a good risk to reward on this one. T1's coming in here, T2 down at the range lows. Very, very simple. I'm not looking for much else on USD CHF. Really just this deviation and reclaim. Okay, so that's the only setup that I'd be taking this week on that pair if it does present itself. Okay, another great market to be watching this week is Euro Pound. Euro Pound. This is on the weekly time frame. We've got this weekly fractal coming in at 0.85200. Currently, what we're seeing is price violate below. This is on the daily, below our key level. Okay, you can see this is a very significant level. You've had some really big, large bounces from this area, okay, recently. So we've seen the deviation, or at least potential deviation. Now what I want to see on Euro GBP is if we can push back above, close above 0.85300, then I'll look for a retest of this area. I can look to bid out of this area, and then you've got clear targets. One up at the range highs, this is going to be your sort of final target in this area, and you do sort of have a mid-range coming in around this area here. So very, very simple, and I think this has a very high probability of playing out because, you know, if this does become a fake out, you've got all of the retail trapped in this market looking at going short. However, we see the deviation and the hold above this level. Orders go in around here. You can look to target first target mid-range, and then second target will be up at range highs. So it'll look something like this in terms of a setup. So once we've seen that deviation back in the range, reclaim entries around this area here. Stop loss, you've got invalidation below the zone. Targets, you've got mid-range and then up to the highs. So, you know, simple 1 to 2 up to mid-range, which should be quite comfortable. And then ultimately you're going for 1 to 4s for the rest of your position. Most of it will be coming off at the mid-range, and then ultimately, you know, you can leave some to run for the range highs there. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at on Euro GBP. Very, very nice sort of setup that that looks like it may be presenting itself. Maybe something that may come into fruition like Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday as a setup, but certainly one a pair to be watching. Euro GBP on the daily for that reclaim of this 0.85300 area. Okay, reclaim of that, you're going to be bouncing to mid range, and then you've got highs. Okay. Now, let's jump into gold. Okay, we were very, very close to catching an entry on XAU USD on gold. What we've seen, you've got your fractal high here on the weekly, very significant key level coming in at 2430, 2430. Okay, what we've seen here was the deviation on the weekly. Okay, let's mark on our weekly area. So this is your area here that we were sort of dealing in. I did mark this out on the weekly watch list prior. If anybody was paying attention, what we're seeing here was the deviation. We came above our key level. This is your deviation here. We reclaim. We've closed back below the key area. However, I was looking for a retest in this area, which we just didn't get, unfortunately. And you can see ultimately priced sort of bounced strongly to the mid-range, first targets hit, and then you're looking at targeting range lows. Okay, so it's unlucky, guys, right? The trade idea was certainly right. We were looking for that deviation reclaim, which we got on this close below. We just didn't get our orders filled, right? My order was in the market. I was looking at a retrace of around 50% of this zone in here, around this area here, and we just didn't get filled, guys. It's just part of the game, okay? But it's nice to know that your trade ideas are certainly correct. You've got the right idea and the right thesis within the market. So it's very, it's very good to see that your ideas are essentially playing out. In terms of gold, now where we at? What do I want to see? Well, it's simple. It's simple, right? So that was the short setup that we unfortunately didn't manage to get filled on. Now, what we have is an essential long setup. Okay. The long setup is as so. So this is your weekly fractal down here. This is your weekly fractal. This is your key area where buyers stepped in the market. What I want to see down here at 2275. Okay, I want to see a manipulation below this level, a deviation, reclaim back above. Then we can look for entries off this level. First target will be mid-range back up, and then you're going to be targeting that back up to the highs. So we missed the short. Okay, this trade's played out. We got the sort of the sell-off that we were anticipating. Unfortunately, didn't get filled. Now our next option is to look for longs. Okay, and longs would be if we can trap these sellers here by breaking below this level, then reclaim. We can look to long back up to the mid-range around this area here, and then you've got ultimate targets back up to range highs. Okay, so that's the setup on gold on the daily. Very, very simple range plays as always. Okay, and these patterns repeat themselves time and time again. Let's look at S&P 500 just to see what's going on here. So we're at a very, very, very significant level. We're at the recent fractal high on the weekly time frame on the S&P 500. We're at this level here now, okay? Let's drop down to the daily and have a look at what's going on. Okay, so this is your level here. This is your level to watch. What we've seen, and this is what we I'm very bullish in the crypto markets, but you still need to be trading what you see, guys, okay? And obviously, as you guys know, the S&P, the American stock market, is extremely correlated with the crypto markets. So we've seen this strong break above this area, the key weekly fractal. To watch is if we lose this area, this could be seen as a large weekly deviation, reclaim, and then sellers could look to step in temporarily. You've got mid-range coming in at 5,100, and you've got range lows down here. So let's mark that on. You've got a very significant level there, mid-range. I don't want to see this because I'm bullish on crypto. However, you've just got to trade what you see, guys. You've got to trade what you see because that's ultimately where you do get the edge. So S&P is at an extremely important point here. We've seen the break above. I want to see the bulls hold this area and then look to continue to the upside. Ultimately, that will allow crypto should rally. Bitcoin and all of the altcoins should rally along with that. However, you need to be, open-minded to all scenarios, because if we lose this area 5250 on the S&P, if we lose this range, you're back dealing within this range, and sellers could look to step in off here with invalidation above this area and then look to target mid-range and back down to the lows. Okay, so something to be cautious of. I do want to see bulls hold this area, but certainly one to watch. Okay. If we do reclaim this, you've got shorting opportunities, and I don't like to say that because I've got investments with crypto, with stocks, etc. So I want to see that do well. However, as I said, you need to be proactive and not reactive. Okay, so trade what you see. So that's what I see on S&P 500. Now let's look at GBP NZD. Okay, and this is more of like a trade example. Like, I want to show you guys how good these weekly fractals are, right? Like, so if we just rewind price back, just so I can show you how accurate and how important these levels are. So this is at this time in the market, this is your most recent fractal high. So we've marked that on. Then when we drop to the daily time frame, we can mark on our liquidity high up here. This is our point of interest, POI. Okay, we're looking for price to come back into that area, and you can see that's exactly what we did. Okay, price came into this area, we deviated, i.e. price came above this area, and then we closed back below these daily candles here. We closed back below. Therefore, we can look for entries on the retest, and we can look to short that back to the downside, because we can classify that as a deviation reclaim, and then you've got targets mid-range and then back down to range lows. Okay, so this would be your first trade here as a simple play. A stop loss above the highs. First target you've got, ultimately you've got range lows down here. So let's play that on. That's your first shorting opportunity, which smashes take profit. Simple range play. Simple range play. Okay. Now, not to forget, right? If price comes back to this level, which it has, we can then look for further shorting opportunities if we see a deviation. Okay, so we see another deviation above this area. Looking on the weekly time frame, this fractal's still in play. It's still there. There's not been another weekly high that's been printed. So the fractal's still in play. We've seen another deviation reclaim, close back below. Therefore, shorting opportunities off this area, stop loss above the zone for invalidation, target mid-range and down to range lows. So let's play this on. And there you go. There you go, guys. So that's another deviation reclaim, and you've got two shorting opportunities within that one market. Okay, and that's within the span of about a week, maybe just over a week. Two opportunities on one market. That is very, very good just within a week. So, these fractals are really, really important, these areas of liquidity, and they really do work. Okay, so just a couple trade examples on what we took sort of fairly recently in the market. And, just take it slow, guys. Just trade what you see, wait for confirmation. Don't go blindly shorting off these areas. Wait for the deviations, wait for the reclaims. Then you've got a quantifiable trade with a stop loss, clear invalidations above the levels, above the deviations, and you've got clear targets down to range lows, down to the mid ranges. Okay, so keep it simple, guys, and I hope you have a lovely trading week. Okay, take care, guys. Bye bye.